So we are on Karm Yoga, chapter 3, Bhagavad Gita. Covered already Sankhya Yoga, which is the yoga of knowledge. Arjun is distressed. First, Arjun Vishad Yoga, he is upset. Krishna steps in and he doesn't say, Arjun, it's okay, everything will be fine, I am with you. No. He immediately gave him the highest knowledge. You are not this body, soul never dies. Why are you crying? That was yoga of knowledge, Sankhya Yoga. Then we are moving to the next phase, which is Karma Yoga. Arjun is asking, if you think, because in Sankhya Yoga, Krishna is saying knowledge is the highest thing. He described that way. So naturally, next question that Arjun arises in him is, if you think knowledge is such superior to action, then O Janardhan, why then do you make me do a dreadful deed? O Keshav, with your complex words, you seem to bewilder my mind. Therefore, tell me plainly the one principle by which I may attain the highest good. You also have these questions, isn't it? He's saying, now you're telling me knowledge is the highest good thing. Then why are you asking me to do karma? You know, if I attain knowledge, I don't need to do anything. Correct? Krishna is saying, then why are you, Arjuna is saying, why are you, confusing me with these complex words when simple thing is just I need to follow the knowledge? Why I have to do kill people? Very genuine question. In day to day life, you all, if today you get enlightened, let's say, okay, if you realize there's no enlightenment, this is enlightenment, right? So, moment you realize this, what will you do now? Tell me. If you have attained the knowledge, then what's the next step? Do you know the next step? Have you seen the next step? Nobody told you, right? Do you stop doing karma? You stop helping people? What is the next step? Same thing Arjun is asking. See, Gita is actually, a lot of people confuse this. There is Ashtavakra Gita, which we already discussed. Ashtavakra Gita says, you are soul, nothing else matters. It's pure knowledge. But it doesn't tell you how to live life after knowing you are soul. It doesn't tell you that. It's a very plain, simple, crisp language saying you are soul, you're not this body, the end. Everything else is desires, illusion, etc. 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 Bhagavad Gita tells you you're not this body, also tells you how to live. That is why it is much more famous, much more understandable. People think one is superior than other. It's not the case. Gita teaches you art of living along with being enlightened without getting attached how to live in this world. That is why this book has been so renowned. It is for everyone. Whoever seeking issues, currently if you come to spirituality, you will also ask, if I am getting the gyan, then why do I have to go to office? Why do I have to do karma? Why do I have to earn money for my family? Why do I have to do all of these things? It's natural. That is what Arjun is also asking. Now, the answer to this Krishna gives, O sinless Arjun. Sinless, describing him as you haven't made any sin. In this world, to achieve equanimity, a twofold path has been enunciated by me before the path of knowledge for men of renunciation, Sankhya Yogi, and the path of action for men of action, Karma Yogi. So he's saying, Arjun, to achieve equanimity, to be in state of total ik oneness. There's no one else, just total oneness. I have created two paths. One is Gyan Yogi, Sankhya Yogi, path of knowledge, meant for renunciation. Then the other one I have created is Karma Yogi. Not by non performance of action does a man attain freedom from the bondage of actions, nor by mere renunciation does he attain perfection. Krishna is saying it is not that if you stop doing action, you will become enlightened. You can never stop doing work. Even if you're sitting here and doing nothing, you're still doing something. Karma is being made. Please understand, it's a very complex thing. Why it is complex? If you have a math problem, okay, you have a math problem, you don't know the solution. So it is very hard until you know the solution. The moment you know the answer, it becomes easy. Correct? So problem is not this problem or your intellect. Problem is you weren't able to reach to the solution in time. Till then, it was hard. Same is the case here in karma, understanding karma. Even if you're doing nothing, you're sitting here, I do nothing, your karmas are being made. People come and talk to you, you don't react. Also karma made. Imagine, like Bhishma Pitama, he did nothing. He was stuck with his dharma that I have renunciated, so I have to do nothing. Still, so many karmas were made by him because he stayed mum. Imagine. Same is the case with us. We can never stop doing karma. Krishna is saying by non performance of actions, means by not doing karma, one cannot attain freedom from the bondage of actions. Our bondage is desire. Our bondage is if I do this karma, I will get this thing. Does it make sense to all of you? Karma is not the bondage. If I do this, if I go early to office today, my boss will praise me. Expectation, desire. If I finish this report early, I will get a I think there's many companies have some award system. I'll get extra few 10% shares. If I praise my wife's food, I will get good support from her. Anything or everything you do is behind an expectation. There is no such thing you do that is selfless. No reason, no expectations. You want nothing in return. Observe yourself from day to night. Day to night, whatever you're doing, any karma or action you're taking, you are doing for something for yourself, for your loved ones, something you want in return. Even if you go and donate food, right, you still want something. You still want that I get the punya for that. I get the good karmas in my bank account. You know, you still want it. And mere renunciation. See, renunciation of karma. A lot of people think if I stop doing karma, karmas will stop coming to me. You know, that is such a that's very silly thing. Very silly thing because if you renunciate, if you do nothing, then what's the point? What are you doing? Everything in this world is selfless. If you look around, bees are making honey. For whom they are making honey? They don't even eat it. Who will eat that honey? Someone else. Like usually in the cartoons they say beer, you know. So but usually we take it. Plants are doing this for oxygen for someone else, trees are doing for someone else, river is flowing for something else, everything is happening for someone else. And if I sit, a perfectly good body, do nothing, I become burden. That is why it is said people who are single, who don't get married, they actually have more, uh, they have to do more for society, because you're not having your own family, you're not serving your family, so you have a lot of time to serve people. You should help people. That much compassion we should have within us. My point here, what Krishna is saying, it always in Sankhya Yoga, actions can be performed and they can also be renounced to a certain extent. But in Karma Yoga is a discipline of action. Action is necessary. It's a mean to success, what they say. Krishna is saying, for no one under any circumstances can remain even for a moment without undertaking action. Everyone is compelled to act by the modes born of nature, which is Prakriti. You cannot cheat it. This world, nature, Prakriti, works on action. Plants are growing, water is coming, evaporation is happening, condensation is happening, clouds are going, hailstorms are coming, sun is there. All these things are, it's an ongoing process. It's all karma being happening. You are born, you're growing naturally, your organs are working naturally, breathing naturally. No one has to teach you breathing. You're eating all these are karma. By the laws of nature, no one under any circumstances can remain even for a moment without undertaking action. Biggest misconception of spirituality is renouncing the world, then renouncing karma. These two misconceptions have been cleared in the first few chapters itself. In the first chapter, he says renouncing on the outside means nothing. You have to renounce on the inside. Now he's saying you cannot stop doing karma. We think, practically, let's say there's a situation in front of you and two people are fighting. Your loved ones, they are fighting. And you know which one is right, which one is wrong. You are the Jnani in the house. Okay? Let's imagine this. You are the Jnani in the house. You listen to spiritual talks. You know two people are fighting, which means two egos are arguing, basically. So one person thinks I'm right, other person thinks he or she is right. If you are there in the house, what should difference be there? 99% people think I am Jnani, I should not get involved. If I get involved, I'm making karmas. It's not about me. Listen carefully. They will think it's not about me. But you are the Jnani. Your vibrations are such, anything happening around you should calm down immediately. Firstly. Secondly, that doesn't mean it should happen all the time. By the way, don't take it as a success matrix. I want to say, don't take it as a success matrix that you have to do this. Okay? It naturally happens. Your vibrations are so calm that people feel peace with you. But if that doesn't happen, it's also okay. If you are there in the middle, you should know how to calm this person, how to calm another person, cool both of them down, make them to talk to each other what they actually are feeling. If they're not ready, then you be the sounding board. You in the middle be the sounding board. You listen to this their problem, you listen to their problem, connect them back together and solve it. That is being you as a jnani in the house. Okay, does it make sense? Because if you think I don't have to get involved, I will make karmas, that's just nonsense. Because if you don't get involved, you're making double karmas actually. If someone comes and tells you, for example, if someone comes and tell you that something bad about other person, someone comes and tell you something bad about other person, and you also go and tell that person like this person was talking this about you, then you are not jnani. Because you should know nature of each person and how to talk to them. As karma, we think not getting involved, escaping things is good karma, or I'm following spirituality. Actually that is wrong. When you become jnani, you head on to things, head on collision. I give you example of Buddha. When he was enlightened, he used to go different places and talk, people started connecting with him. He was doing dhyan at one place. Suddenly he hears two people are arguing about a king and another person, arguing about the rajya, like I will take this, you will take that. They are arguing, almost getting violent. What he does, he didn't sit like Buddha and like, oh, let people come to me, I am enlightened, I don't have to go anywhere, I don't have to make karmas. You know what he did? He got up, he heard people are shouting, he went to them and he told them ahimsa is wrong, violence is wrong, you should not do this. He started to calm them down. That is the same thing happened with Unglimal Daku, the dacoit. When he was, everybody knew in that path, Unglimal Daku is there. All the people, his disciples, they said, please don't go there, Buddha. He is someone who kills people, takes their fingers and put it in a mala like that. So he didn't listen. He just kept walking. When he kept walking, Unglimal Daku came in front. There's conversation happening between them. And he says, now you have come, I have to take your finger. So Buddha, what he does is he cuts down a tree branch. He's like, I have removed this branch. Can you put it back? Buddha says this to the dacoit. Can you put this back? Can you put this thing back there on the tree? And he was mum. Every step he was taking closer, the vibrations of Buddha was actually changing the person, the dacoit. When he was asked this question, he said, no, I cannot put this back. Then Buddha says, why do you want to do something which you cannot fix? Do things that you can fix. If you take my finger, can you put it back? No. He did not escape. This is what I'm saying. But this also doesn't mean you should go and find people to put spirituality in. They're two things. Yeah. You cannot escape from karma. You have to help the society. Otherwise, why I'm sitting here and telling you? I can also sit in some, cave and I don't bother. Someone will do this. Krishnamurti, he was like about 80 and up, 80 plus. People used to ask him, why do you still give gyan? You are so old, you can barely talk. That people used to ask him, like, you're so old now. So he used to say, if you see something so beautiful, would you explain it or you will stay mum? Say, of course you will explain it. So I will keep explaining it until I die. So, point being, under no circumstances you can be away from karma. It's the detachment to the desire and the outcome. There are two ways to escape it in your day to day life. If I tell you, do your karma, don't expect anything in return, then most of the people are like getting demotivated. And why do I have to do it anyway? You know, what's the point of doing this? That is wrong. Give your best, prepare for the worst, still keep doing it. Because what else you're going to do? Nowadays there's a trend, I want to retire early and then do nothing, and take, do nothing whole life. And I think, if you do nothing whole life, what will you do? Like, what will you do? Then this mind will kill you. You'll go in depression, stress, anxiety. You will have nothing to do. It needs something to do. Either you go and help people. Guru Nanak only said these things. He did not give any big talks to general people. You know, he said, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, do seva, seva, satsang, simran. That's it. A small mantra for those who cannot understand the divine through the eyes. Vaheguru, with purity you say, at least you clean yourself. Do seva. You will never see any Sardar or Sikh away from seva. That is deep rooted in them. Selfless service. And then third is satsang and simran. Listen to the knowledge of the divine, Gurbani, and simran. The bhajan and kirtan and all this. It gives you positivity. So I don't care, I will not do. These are wrong spiritual things, and one must not follow them. I really encourage people to continue doing, keep doing. That's it. Keep giving your best. In the fifth verse, it has been mentioned that no one can remain without action for a moment. Even one may object to these, that a person could regard himself as free from action by forcibly suspending the function of the senses, because the next thing would arise is that I can forcibly control my senses and refrain myself from doing action. So Krishna says, he who while restraining the organs of the action thinks of sense object in his mind is still deluded in his understanding and is a hypocrite. So what he means to say here, for sannyasi who leave everything, their family and all this, and then go sit near a tree or change their clothes and like this, what they're doing is they have controlled on the outside, but on the inside you are still thinking, you know, you are still thinking of this, eyes, tongue, nose, ears, still you have desires from here. Then this person is still deluded, means he's not in right mind, he doesn't understand, he's still an illusion and is a hypocrite. Very clear words, Krishna is saying this. If we think that leaving everything, renouncing, not doing any karma, your mind is still doing it. In our Hindi session, we discussed man, vachan, and karam. From your thoughts, from your words, and from your actions, you are doing karmas. So even if you're not doing from your senses, you're still doing them from your thoughts. Constantly you have negative thoughts about others. You want to kill people, you want to hurt them. Why is it happening with me? They will also suffer like I am suffering. These kind of thoughts come inside of you, and these are not positive things, and they all create karmas. And a person who thinks that if I am not, doing by action, he's doing nothing, that's wrong. You're still doing from here. I think there are many monasteries where there's some monks, they don't talk at all, and they are just stay mon. Problem is, that's a good tapasya, that's a good thing they're doing, but is the mon happening here? Is the silence here or here? Even if I lock you in a room, like, there is a jail. In jail, there is a solitary compartment. Do you all know solitary? When someone does very bad thing, they are put in solitary for few days. That is a big punishment. Means no one will be with you. No one you can talk to. Alone you will have to be. Now, in that case, is that person doing tapasya? No. Similarly, the monks who are not talking and they are in mon, there is sadhana there. They are putting good karmas in the account, but the mon is not happening here. This doesn't go silent. Here, you may have controlled it, but here, even while you're cooking, working, this is on. The meter is on. Always think like this: meter is always on. While you're cooking, you're saying like, oh, that person called me and he said this, I did this. This is going on. That's why people give another fake thing of stay in the present moment, which is also illusion. Staying in the present moment is also an illusion. Just watch the mind. That is the solution. Because if you bring mind back to present, you're still controlling the mind, right? We don't have to control the mind. We just have to not listen to it. That's it. Watch it, don't listen to it. Don't give it power, don't give it energy. So, Krishna is very clearly saying one who thinks that he has controlled his senses, he is not doing any karma, he's wrong. He's delusional. In Gita, sense organs have also been included within the organs of action. Therefore, only uh, in the 8th, 9th verse of this chapter, the sense organs such as seeing, hearing, and touching have also been numerous forms of action. They are saying these sense organs are the main reasons behind numerous actions. Cover this last shlok for today. The Lord lays, we'll continue this one tomorrow. In both disciplines of the action and knowledge, he declares no one can remain even for a moment without performing actions. This is for both the things in Jnana Yoga, also in Karma Yoga. You cannot go away from karma. I always say this: when Lord Rama went to his guru, Vashisht, he was learning under him. He asked, Gurudev says that you do karma and karma will come back to you. So Lord Rama's natural question was, then Gurudev, if I always keep getting my karma back and I get attached to the karmas, what is the mukti? Because a human living on this earth can never stop doing karma. He already knows this, that as a human, you cannot stop doing karma, which means he understands the true definition of karma. Do you understand the true definition of karma? We think all our life karma is working, doing something, giving something to people. Actually, karma is thinking, speaking, and doing. All three things. Even when you think, you're making karma. Even when you speak, making karma. This is me talking, karma is there. Yeah. So no one can do this. Then Vashisht says, yes, Lord Rama, you asked the right question. He says, yes, but you need to do Nishkam Karm and Sakshi Bhav. Only two things can give you moksha. Sakshi Bhav means seeing yourself that this body is doing, not me. Second thing is Nishkam Karam means desireless karma. Karma without expectation. I want you to go home today and see how many karma you do that are full of expectations. When you go do this homework, because Karma Yoga is very tough, Karma Yoga is quite hard and quite easy, both, because you need to have balance while doing karma. See, when I say in the beginning story that you will go and help people solve the dispute, the worst part becomes is you start taking this as a pattern. Then you desperately find people to teach spirituality and separate them. You keep going to people and like, oh no, you are doing wrong, you are doing wrong. I mean, we're not even required, you're doing it. You understand? First part is in your home, people are fighting, you are the Gyani, you will help them sort things out. But when the trap begins in Karma Yoga is you start overdoing it, overdoing goodness. That is the trap. Then you get stuck in ahankar. Oh, I am the one who did this. I am the one who saved you. It's not required. When you are required in a situation, you will be sent there. That's it. You don't have to find situations. When someone needs your help, you will be sent there. That's it. The trap of karma is this. See, we think doing good karmas is good. Oh, I am getting, closer to spirituality in this, that. Slowly, when we start doing so many good things, we get stuck that, oh, I am the one who do such good things. Then I become so big that if someone comes and argue with it, you start pushing back. Then you fall immediately. So let's understand karma yoga, but karma is hard because it needs balance. We need to be balanced. No overdoing, no underdoing. In your house, in your relationships, don't overdo things. Do what is required. Don't start being extra nice to people. Nobody wants they will take you for granted. They will start taking you for granted, then what you will do? Then you will cry because no one giving you love back. So only do what is required with good intentions. That's it. No desires, good intention. That's enough for karma yoga. No need to do extra good karmas. No extra points for that.